All praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Peace and blessing to the elect of Israel who are practicing the law of liberty out there. So, today we're going to continue with the Testament of the Patriarchs. And today we're going to get into the Testament of Joseph. The Testament of Joseph. Now, Joseph, pretty sure all y'all know who Joseph is in the Bible. But he's probably one of the I shouldn't say it, but he probably is one of the most important of the brothers of the patriarchs from all the sons of Israel, Jacob, because he pretty much saved all of Israel from starvation. So, he's pretty important, and pretty much all the other testaments talk about Joseph. All the other brothers that videos that I've made about this Testament of the Patriarchs. Pretty much all of them mention him in their testament. So let's get into it. Now I'm going to be doing a little bit of reading. This might go a little longer than normal, but I mean, he's a pretty important figure. All of them are, but Joseph is story. He's got a nice story that we pretty much all know about, but just for the video and for everything, I'm just going to read a little bit about it. So anyway, Joseph means Jehovah has added. That's what his name means. Jehovah has added. Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob, his first son through his favorite wife, Rachel. Remember, he always loved Rachel. Joseph's story is found in Genesis 37 through 50. After the announcement of his birth, we see Joseph next as a 17-year-old returning from sheep herding the flock with his half-brothers to give Jacob a bad report on them. We are also told that Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. It's probably, I think it said like a coat of many colors. Joseph's brothers knew their father loved Joseph more than them, which caused them to hate him. To make matters worse, Joseph began relating his dreams to the family, prophetic visions showing Joseph one day ruling over the family. The animosity towards Joseph peaked when his brothers plotted to kill him in the wilderness. Reuben, the eldest, objected to outright murdering and suggested that they throw Joseph into a cistern as he planned to come back and rescue the boy. But in Reuben's absence, some merchants passed by in Judah suggested selling Joseph into slavery. The brothers accomplished the task before Reuben could rescue him. The boys took Joseph's robe and dipped the robe in goat's blood, deceived their father into thinking his favorite son had been slain by wild beasts. Joseph was sold by the merchants to a high-ranking Egyptian named Potiphar, and eventually became the supervisor of Potiphar's household. We read in Genesis 39 how Joseph excelled at his duties, became one of Potiphar's most trusted servants, and was put in charge of his household. Potiphar could see that whatever Joseph did, power looked favorably on him, and he prospered in all that he did. Unfortunately, Potiphar's wife attempted to seduce Joseph. Joseph consistently refused her advances, showing honor for his master, who had entrusted him with so much, and saying that it would be a wicked thing and a sin to God for him to go to bed with Potiphar's wife. Potiphar's wife caught Joseph by the cloak and again made sexual advances. Joseph fled, leaving his cloak in her hand. In anger, she falsely accused Joseph of attempted rape, and Potiphar put him in prison. In jail, Joseph was again blessed by power. Joseph interpreted the dreams of two of his fellow prisoners. Both interpretations proved to be true, and one of the men was later released from jail and restored to his position as the king's cupbearer. But the cupbearer forgot about Joseph and failed to speak to Pharaoh about him. 2 years later, the king himself had some troubling dreams, and the cupbearer remembered Joseph's gift for interpretations. The king summoned Joseph and related his dreams. Based on Pharaoh's dream, Joseph predicted 7 years of bountiful harvest, followed by 7 years of famine in Egypt, and advised the king to begin storing grain in preparations for the coming dearth. For his wisdom, Joseph was made a ruler in Egypt, second only to the king. Joseph was in charge of storing up food during the 7 years of plenty and selling it to Egyptians and foreigners during the 7 years of famine. During these years of plenty, Joseph had 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When the famine struck, even Canaan was affected. Jacob sent 10 of his sons to Egypt to buy grain. He kept Benjamin, his youngest, and the only other son of Rachel behind. While in Egypt, the men met their long-lost brother, whom they did not recognize. Joseph, however, did recognize his brothers. He tested them by accusing them of being spies. He confined them for 3 days, then released all but one, sending with them grain for the household and requiring them to come back with their youngest brother. Still unaware of Joseph's identity, the brothers were afflicted with guilt for having sold their brother years before. Joseph overheard their discussions and turned aside to weep. He retained Simeon and sent the others on their way, secretly returning their money to their grain sacks. When the brothers later realized the money had been returned, they feared even more. Once home, they told Jacob all that had transpired. Jacob mourned again the loss of Joseph and the added loss of Simeon. He refused to send Benjamin, despite Reuben's promise that if he did not return with Benjamin, Jacob could kill Reuben's 2 sons. The famine became so severe that Jacob acquiesced. Judah persuaded Jacob to send Benjamin with him, giving his own life as a pledge. Jacob agreed, sending also choice fruits and double the money for the grain. When Joseph saw the men, he instructed his servants to slaughter an animal and prepare a meal for his brothers to dine with him. Afraid at the invitation to Joseph's house, the brothers made apologies to Joseph's stewards for the money that had been replaced the first time. Joseph's stewards reassured them and brought Simeon out. When Joseph returned, the brothers bowed to him, fulfilling his early prophecy that they would be bowing to him in a dream. He asked about their family's welfare and again wept, this time removing himself to his chambers. When the men sat down for the meal at a separate table from Joseph, they were amazed to be arranged by birth order. Benjamin was given 5 times the portion the other brothers received. Before sending them back to their father, Joseph again tested his brothers by returning their money to their grain sacks and placing his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. He let the brothers start on their journey and then sent his steward after them to frag anger and threaten to kill Benjamin. Back in Joseph's presence, Judah pleaded for Benjamin's life, saying that if Benjamin were to die, so would Jacob. Judah told of Jacob the grief over the loss of Joseph, and he believed that he could not bear to lose Joseph's brother. Judah also spoke of his pledge to Jacob and offered his life for Benjamin. Upon seeing this proof of his brother's change of heart, Joseph sent all his servants away and wept openly and loudly enough to be heard by Pharaoh's household, and then revealed himself to his brothers. Joseph immediately reassured them, telling them not to be angry with themselves for what they've done to him, and saying that God had sent him to Egypt in order to preserve them. Joseph reaffirmed his forgiveness years later after the death of his father, saying that although his brothers intended evil to him, God had intended it for good. Joseph sent his brothers back to Jacob to retrieve the remainder of the household and to come and live in Goshen, where they would be near to Joseph and could be provided for. So that's enough of that. So now let's get into the testament of Joseph. The testament of Joseph. Joseph, the 11th son of Jacob and Rachel, the beautiful and beloved, his struggle against the Egyptian temptress, the copy of the testament of Joseph. When he was about to die, he called his sons and his brothers together and said to them, "My brethren, my children, hearken to Joseph, the beloved of Israel. Give ear, my sons, unto your father. I have seen in my life envy and death, and yet went not astray, but preserved in the truth of the Lord. There my brothers hated me, but the Lord loved me. They wished to slay me, but power of my fathers guarded me. They let me down into a pit, and the Most High brought me up again. I was sold into slavery, and the Lord of all made me free. I was taken into captivity, and his strong hand succored me. I was beset with hunger, and the Lord himself nourished me. I was alone, and God comforted me. I was sick, and the Lord visited me. I was in prison, and God showed favor unto me. In bonds, and he released me. Slander, and he pleaded my cause. Bitterly spoken against by the Egyptians, and he delivered me. Envied by my fellow slaves, and he exalted me. And this chief captain of Pharaoh entrusted to me his whole house. And I struggled against a shameless woman, urging me to transgress with her. But the power of Israel, my father, delivered me from the burning flame. And I was cast into prison. I was beaten. I was mocked. But the Lord granted me to find mercy in the sight of the keepers of the prison. For the Lord doth not forsake them that fear him, neither in darkness, nor in bonds, nor in tribulations, nor in necessities. For God is not put to shame as a man, nor as a son of man. Is he afraid? Nor is one that is earthborn. Is he weak or affrighted? But in all those things doth he give protection, and in divers ways does he comfort. Though for a little space he departed to try the inclinations of the soul. In 10 temptations he showed me approved, and in all of them I endured. For endurance is a mighty charm, and patience gives many good things. How often did the Egyptian woman threaten me with death? How often did she give me over to punishment, and then call me back and threaten me? And when I was unwilling to company with her, she said to me, Thou shalt be Lord of me, and all that is in my house, if thou wilt give thyself unto me, and thou shalt be as our master. But I remembered the words of my father, and going into my chamber, I wept and prayed unto the Lord. And I fasted in those 7 years, and I appeared to the Egyptians as one living delicately. For they that fast for God's sake receive beauty of face. And if my Lord were away from home, I drank no wine, nor for 3 days did I take my food, but I gave it to the poor and sick. And I sought the Lord early, and I wept for the Egyptian woman of Memphis, for very unceasingly did she trouble me. For also at night she came to me under pretense of visiting me. And because she had no male child, she pretended to regard me as her son. And for a time she embraced me as a son, and I knew it was not. But later she sought to draw me into fornication. And when I perceived it, I sorrowed unto death. And when she had gone out, I came to myself and lamented for her many days, because I recognized her guile and her deceit. And I declared unto her the words of the Most High, if haply she would turn from her evil lust. Often, therefore, did she flatter me with words as a holy man, and guilefully in her talk praised me my chastity, because her husband, while desired to ensnare me when we were alone. For she lauded me openly as chastened, and in secret she said unto me, Fear not, my husband for me is persuaded concerning thy chastity. For ever should one tell him concerning us, he would not believe. Owing to all these things, I lay upon the ground and besought the power that the Lord would deliver me from her deceit. And when she had prevailed, nothing thereby she came against to me under the plea of instruction, that she might learn the word of power. And she said unto me, If thou willest that I should leave my idols, lie with me, and I will persuade my husband depart from his idols, and we will walk in the law by the Lord. And I said unto her, The Lord willeth not that those who reverence him should be in uncleanness, nor does he take pleasure in them that commit adultery, but in those that approach him with a pure heart and an undefiled lips. But she hid her peace, longing to accomplish her evil desire. And I gave myself yet more to fasting and praying that the Lord might deliver me from her. And again, at another time, she said unto me, If thou wilt not commit adultery, I will kill my husband by poison, and take thee to be my husband. I therefore, when I heard this, rent my garment and said unto her, Woman, reverence God, and do not this evil deed, lest thou be destroyed. For know indeed that I will declare this thy device unto all men. She therefore, being afraid, besought that I would not declare this device. And she departed, soothing me with gifts, and sending to me every delight of the sons of men. And afterwards she sent me food mingled with enchantments. And when the eunuchs who bought it came, I looked up and beheld a terrible man giving me with the dish a sword. And I persuaded that her scheme was to beguile me. And when he had gone out, I wept, nor did I taste that of any other of her food. And so then, after one day, she came to me and observed the food, and said unto me, Why is it that thou hast not eaten of the food? And I said unto her, It is because thou hast filled it with deadly enchantments. And how sayest thou, I come not near to idols, but to the Lord alone? Now therefore know that the God of my father hath revealed unto me by his angels thy wickedness, and I have kept it to convict thee, if haply thou mayest see and repent, but that thou mayest learn that the wickedness of the ungodly hath no power over them that worship God with chastity. Behold, I would take of it and eat before thee. And having so said, I prayed thus, The power of my fathers and the angels of Abraham be with me, and I ate. And when she saw this, she fell upon her face at my feet, weeping. And I raised her up and admonished her. And she promised to do this iniquity no more. But her heart was still set upon evil. And she looked around how to ensnare me, and sighing deeply, she became downcast, though she was not sick. And when her husband saw her, he said unto her, Why is thy countenance fallen? And she said unto him, I have a pain in my heart, and a groaning in my spirit oppressed me. So he comforted her who was not sick. Then accordingly, seizing an opportunity, she rushed unto me while her husband was yet without, and said unto me, I will hang myself, or cast myself over a cliff, if thou wilt not lie with me. And when I saw the spirit of Belair was troubling her, I prayed unto the Lord, and said unto her, Why, wretched woman, art thou troubling and disturbing, blinded through sins? Remember that if thou kill thyself, Astro, the concubine of thy husband, thy rival will beat thy children, and thou wilt destroy thy memory from off the earth. And she said unto me, Lo, then thou lovest me? Let this suffice me only. Strive for my life and my children, and I expect that I should enjoy my desire also. But she knew not that because of my Lord I spake thus, and not because of her. For if a man has fallen before the passion of a wicked desire and become enslaved by it, even as she, whatever good thing he may hear with regard to that passion, he receiveth it with a view to his wicked desire. And I declare therefore unto you, my children, that it was about the 6th hour when she departed from me, and I knelt before the Lord all day and all night, and about dawn I rose up weeping the while and praying for a release from her. And at last, then she laid hold of my garments forcibly, dragging me to have connection with her. When therefore I saw that in her madness she was holding fast to my garment, I left it behind, and I fled away naked. And holding fast to the garment, she falsely accused me. And when my husband came, and when her husband came, he cast me into prison in his house. And on the morrow he scourged me and sent me into Pharaoh's prison. And when I was in bonds, the Egyptian woman was oppressed with grief, and she came and heard how I gave thanks unto the Lord and sang praises in the abode of darkness. And with glad voice I rejoiced, glorifying my power, that I was delivered from the lustful desire of this Egyptian woman. And often had she sent unto me, saying, Consent to fulfill my desire, and I will release thee from thy bonds, and I will free thee from the darkness, and not even though did I incline unto her. For God loveth him who is in a den of wickedness, combines fasting with chastity, rather than the man who's in king's chambers, combining luxury with license. And if a man liveth in chastity and desire also glory, and the Most High knoweth that it is expedient for him, he bestows this also upon him. How often, though she was sick, did she come down to me at unlooked for times, and listen to my voice as I prayed. And when I heard her groanings, I held my peace. For when I was in her house, she was wont to bare her arms and breasts and legs, that I might lie with her. For she was very beautiful, splendidly adoring, in order to beguile me. And the Lord guarded me from her devices. Chapter 2. Yea, see therefore, my children, how great things patience worketh, and prayers with fasting. So ye too, if ye follow after chastity and purity, with patience and prayer, with fasting and humility of heart, the Lord will dwell among you, because he loveth chastity. And wheresoever the Most High dwelleth, even though envy or slavery or slander befall the man, the Lord will dwell in him for the sake of his chastity, not only delivering him from evil, but also exalting him even as me. For in every way the man is lifted up, whether in deed or in word or in thought. My brethren, know how my Father loved me, and yet I did not exalt myself in my mind. Although I was a child, I had the fear of God in my heart, for I knew that all things would pass away. And I did not raise myself against them with evil intent, but I honored my brothers. And out of respect for them, even when I was being sold, I refrained from telling the Ishmaelites that I was the son of Jacob, a great man and a mighty. Do ye also, my children, have the fear of God in all your works before your eyes, and honor your brethren? For everyone who doeth the law of the Lord shall be loved by him. And when I came to the indoctrinate with the Ishmaelites, they asked me, saying, Art thou a slave? And I said that I was a homeborn slave, that I might not put my brethren to shame. And the elders of them said unto me, Thou art not a slave, for even thy appearance doth make it manifest. But I said that I was their slave. And now when we came into Egypt, they strove concerning me, which of them should buy me and take me. Therefore it seemed good to all that I should remain in Egypt with the merchants of their trade, until they should return bringing merchandise. And the Lord gave me favor in the eyes of the merchants, and he entrusted unto me his house. And God blessed him by his means, and increased him in gold and silver and the household service. And I was with him 3 months and 5 days. And about the time of Memphian, a Memphian woman, the wife of Pentaphrus, came down in a chariot with great pomp, because she had heard from the eunuchs concerning me. And she told her husband that the merchants had become rich by my means of the young Hebrew, and they say that he had assuredly been stolen out of the land of Canaan. Now therefore render justice unto him, and take away the youth to thy house. So shall the God of the Hebrews bless thee, for the grace from heaven is upon him. And Pentaphrus was persuaded by her words, and commanded the merchants to be bought, and said unto him, What is it that I hear concerning thee, that thou stealest persons out of the land of Canaan, and sellest them for slaves? But the merchants fell at her feet, and besought him, saying, I beseech thee, my Lord, I know not what thou sayest. And Pentaphrus said unto him, Whence then is the Hebrew slave? And he said, The Ishmaelites entrusted him unto me until they shall return. But he believed him not, but commanded him to be stripped and beaten. And when he persisted in the statement, Pentaphrus said, Let the youth be bought. And when I was brought in, I did obstinance to Pentaphrus, for he was third in rank of the office of the Pharaoh. And he took me apart from him and said to me, Art thou a slave or free? And I said, A slave. And he said, Whose? And I said, The Ishmaelites. He said, How dost thou become their slave? And I said, They brought me out of the land of Canaan. And he said unto me, Truly thou liest. And straightway he commanded me to be stripped and beaten. Now the Memphian woman was looking through a window at me while I was being beaten, for her house was near. And she sent unto him, saying, Thy judgment is unjust, for thou dost punish a free man who has been stolen, as though he was a transgressor. And when I made no change in my statement, though I was beaten, he ordered me to be in prison until he said, The owners of the boy should come. And the woman said unto her husband, Wherefore dost thou detain the captive and wellborn lad in bonds, who art rather to be set at liberty and be waiting upon? For she wished to see me out of a desire of sin, but I was ignorant concerning all these things. And he said to her, It is not the custom of the Egyptians to take that which belongeth to others before proof is given. This therefore he said concerning the merchants. But as for the lad, he must be in prison. Now after 24 days came the Ishmaelites, for they had heard that Jacob my father was mourning much concerning me. And they came and said unto me, How is it that thou sayest that thou was a slave? And lo, we have learnt that thou art the son of a mighty man in the land of Canaan, and thy father still mourneth for thee in sackcloth and ashes. And when I heard this, my bowels were dissolved, and my heart melted, and I desired greatly to weep. But I restrained myself that I should not put my brethren to shame. And I said unto them, I know not, I am a slave. Then therefore they took counsel to sell me, then I should not be found in their hands. But they feared my father, lest he should come and execute upon them a grievous vengeance. For they had heard that he was mighty with God and with men. Then said the merchants unto them, Release me from the judgment of Potiphar. And they came and requested me, saying, Say that thou wast bought by us with money, and he will set us free. Now the Memphius woman said to her husband, Buy the youth, for I hear, she said, that they are selling him. And straightway she sent a eunuch to the Ishmaelites and asked them to sell me. But since the eunuchs would not agree to buy me at their price, he returned, having made trial of them, and he made known to his mistress that they asked a large price for their slave. And she sent another eunuch, saying, Even though they demand 2 minas, give them, do not spare the gold, only buy the boy and bring him to me. The eunuchs therefore went and gave them 80 pieces of gold, and he received me. But the Egyptian woman, he said, I have given 100. But the Egyptian woman, he said, had given 100. And though I knew this, I held my peace, lest the eunuch should be put to shame. Ye see, therefore, my children, what great thing I endured, that I should not put my brethren to shame. Do ye also, therefore, love one another, and with long suffering hide ye one another's faults. For God delighted in the unity of brethren, in the purpose of a heart that takes pleasure in love. And when my brethren came into Egypt, they learned that I had returned their money unto them, and unabrided them not, and comforted them. And after the death of Jacob my father, I loved them more abundantly in all things whatsoever he commanded. I did very abundantly for them. And I suffered them not to be afflicted in the smallest matter, and all that was in my hand I gave to them. And their children were my children, and my children as their servants. And their life was my life, and all their suffering was my suffering, and all their sickness was my infirmities. My land was their land, and their counsel was my counsel. And I exalted not myself among them in arrogance because of my worldly glory, but I was among them as one of the least. If ye also therefore walk in the commandments of the Lord, my children, he will exalt you there, and will bless you with the good things forever and ever. And if anyone seeketh to do evil unto you, do well unto him, and pray for him, and ye shall be redeemed of the Lord from all evil. For behold, ye see that out of my humility and long suffering I took unto a wife the daughter of the priest of Heliopolis, and 100 talents of gold were given me with her, and the Lord made them to serve me. And he gave me also the beauty as a flower beyond the beauty of ones of Israel. And he preserved me unto old age in strength and in beauty, because I was like in all things to Jacob. And he heard ye, and hear ye, my children, also the vision which I saw. There was 12 hearts feeding, and the 9 were first dispersed over the earth, and likewise also the 3. And I saw that from Judah was born a virgin wearing a linen garment, and from her was born a lamb without spot. On his left hand there was as it were a lion, and all the beasts rushed against him, and the lamb overcame them and destroyed them and trodden them underfoot. And because of him the angels and men rejoiced all the land. And these things shall come to pass in their season, in the last days. Do ye therefore, my children, observe the commandments of the Lord, honor Levi and Judah, for from them shall arise unto you the Lamb of God, who taketh away the sins of the world, one who saveth all the Gentiles in Israel. For his kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, which shall not pass away. But my kingdom among you shall come to an end, as a watcher's hemlock, which after the summer disappeareth. For I know that after my death the Egyptians will afflict you, but God will avenge you and will bring you into that which he promised to your fathers. But ye should carry up my bones with you. For when my bones are being taken up thither, the Lord shall be with you in light of Belair, shall be in darkness with the Egyptians. And carry ye up Asenath your mother to the Hippodrome, and near Rachel your mother bury her. And when he had said these things, he stretched out his feet and died at a good old age. And all Israel mourned for him, and all Egypt with great mourning. And when the children of Israel went out of Egypt, they took with them the bones of Joseph, and they buried him in Hebron with his fathers. And the years of his life were 110 years. Whew, all praises. So that was a little longer than the other ones, but I hope you get a blessing from this. Listen to the video a few times, like I always say, and meditate on it. And may the Lord bless.